Okay, so now we are starting a formal interview, and let's start.
Okay. Yeah, Kaustav, thanks for giving your time. My name is Sandeep Kumar, and I have a total of 16 years of experience in IT industry. I started as a mobile application developer from the backend side on Java J2E, then gradually moved to an application stack of mobile
Uh-huh.
from native to hybrid. And around 6 to 7 years ago, I moved to the part of solutioning and then gradually increased my profile in solutioning itself,
Mm-hmm.
where my roles and responsibilities to understand their existing architecture. Uh, and then if they are introducing new entity inside those architecture, then try to find the feasibilities of those entities, both in the term of solutioning, high level design, low level design, as well in the terms of technical, uh, what you can say, uh, technical feasibilities of those entity mapping with then existing entities. For example, suppose we want to introduce a role-based mechanism, which are not existing as of now in their legacy system, then we have to understand first what how their profile management system is working currently and whether that would be compatible enough with a role management system or not. So that's required an existing architecture understanding and then a trade-off in between existing and the strategic one. That's my current role, which I'm serving from. With that, I have a responsibility of a complete offshore development team. I need to convert this technical architectural requirement into a technical stories for my development team. I need to review their codes for quality purpose. I need to understand and make them flexible enough to deploy their code with certain pipeline. We are using Bamboo as a CI/CD pipeline in an existing system.
Okay.
We have certain engineering guardrail as strategies, which I need to follow for quality again and for deployment, for speedy deployment over main production. These are a small summary of my current roles, which I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool, cool. Sandeep, a bit background about myself would be so I started my career in 2014, so it's been about 7 years, 7.5 years. So I have started with TCS. There was a small stint with web development and even smaller stint with data engineering. After that, I thought of moving to Oracle. In Oracle, I have worked on web applications. I was again an application engineer there, so we worked on internal Oracle applications, giving giving solutions to our sales engineers, not sales representatives, not engineers. So then I thought that it's time to change. The learning curve was getting very tapered, so I thought it's time. Then I started giving interviews, and luckily I cracked Google. And even in Google, I am an application engineer. So what we actually do is we are mostly into supply chain management. Just we are just a cog in the wheel of the entire supply chain management, to be honest. And we also help in remote collaboration. So yeah, that is about me.
Awesome,
And
awesome.
let us start with the interview question. Okay.
Yes, sure.
So about the question, what we have to do is assume uh, there is a root directory, right? And
Okay.
you need to traverse the entire directory and read CSV, read CSV files and save there, right?
Okay. Okay.
So let me, so the depth from root last directory is max, say, 500, right? And
Okay. Okay.
uh, any directory may have 10 raised to the power 5.
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And so this is what we have to do, right? Now,
Okay. Okay.
what you can assume IO interface, right? You can assume that we already have IO interfaces. So
Mhm.
what do you mean IO interfaces? I mean hardware IO interfaces. Or let's also say disk IO interfaces. We already have them, right? Let's say
Okay.
we have HTTP IO.
Mhm.
Now, how would you approach it?
Okay. Okay. I'm assuming the input. Uh, Sorry. I'm assuming the input might be of this type. Like we have a root directory, and under that root directory, there might be a different directory, right? One
Yes.
question I want to ask is whether you want to replicate the complete structure in a same hierarchical manner into a different server. Like if in my local system from where I
Mm-hmm.
need to copy to the remote, the
Mm-hmm.
structure is A is a root directory and under A the B exists. You want to carry forward the same structure into your remote server, or you just want to copy paste the CSV file regardless of their structure in the root of that router of that remote server.
Yes. So
Like,
the HTTP URL which will be created would be something like this. We have host, then paths,
right.
right, and then yes,
Hmm.
we can assume
Right.
that I mean in a directory the CSV names would be same, right? And
Right.
then
So
we so it would be a post, and then the body would have CSV. Let us not worry about the content, right?
yep. Yep. So suppose we have a root structure where at B position we have a .csv file, and another CSV file is at another directory at root position,
Mm-hmm.
like in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So in output on remote server, you want just the CSV file like .csv1 and .csv2, or you want to replicate the same structure like it should be in between A and B. .csv1 should be in between A and B, and .csv2 in between root directory C. You replicate the same structure, or you just want the CSV file on your remote server.
So we do not need to bother about that. So
Okay.
like I said, the HTTP, this is how we would be creating the HTTP path. So
Hmm.
it's not direct, it's not just path, it's directory path.
Hmm.
So this is how we will create our URL, and
Okay.
we will send the content. That's all we have to.
Okay, so you want that one by one we pass our file name with the path to that class, and then we replicate the same file on the remote server where that
I
post
mean,
is calling.
so the remote server can do whatever they want to do.
Okay,
We are
okay,
just passing the information we have to pass. So this is our instructions. We have to pass our
okay,
information in this.
okay. So you just want to traverse in between root directories, and one by one you want to take the CSV and pass that in your method,
Yes.
right?
So and
That's
and the
okay.
URL we will be creating will be created like this.
Okay, okay, okay. So, okay. Okay, I just want to think. I'm just thinking that what kind of constraint we can face while traversing into that directory. Suppose I have a root address that is A or something.
Mm-hmm.
I enter in that root address. There are multiple folder. One by one, I have to search in all folder whether a CSV exists or not, and I have to make it track that whatever we visited that should not be visited again. Is that a right assumption?
Yes. So once you have sent the CSV, you do not want to send that again.
Mhm. Right,
That's
right,
it.
right, right, right. And file size of CSV doesn't matter. Whatever would be the file size, I just have to post that CSV file path
Yes.
into my method.
Let us assume the file size for now.
Okay, okay. Other than CSV, do I want to send some metadata information over my server to make an identification of that CSV, like from where it's coming?
Sorry,
Like
could you repeat that?
other than CSV file, do I want to send some metadata information of that CSV just for identification purpose that from where the CSV is coming?
Uh,
Like again,
no,
that folder path or something?
not necessarily.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Mm, okay. Um, okay. I think that file structure I can consider as a try kind of structure in which uh, the nodes limit, you already have provided the nodes limit. It should not be a better option to take a try because load limit is 10 is to power 5 directory inside. Okay, sorry. I think no try would not be a right structure because node limit is very high. So at each node I had to replicate 10 is to 5, which is not a right thing. Uh, I'm just thinking that how I can make it track of the path which I already visited. So one by one, if I start taking a file, I'm assuming that files, the folders are in a system sorted structure. There
Mm,
is like a root folder inside
right,
root.
right.
Inside root, there are 1, 2, 3 are ABC and alphanumeric folder names, and all are sorted by system. One by one, I'm taking a sorted folder and start traversing inside. It's look like a depth first search kind of things to me. I'm keeping a
Okay.
track in a stack that which sorted folder I'm entering and how much in the depth I entered.
Mm-hmm.
If I have entered, like I have traversed a complete folder and reached to a CSV, I start passing that CSV to my method, which you mentioned, and come out from that one level up from that particular path in the same way as we are doing a depth first search. I feel that depth first search is a right data structure for solving this traversal and sending one by one all the CSV file into a different remote server.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if that's assumption is right, I can start coding a depth first search for that particular thing.
So, about that, so don't you think if you are doing a depth first search,
Hmm.
your directories, then so each so let's assume take the worst case here, right?
Hmm.
So we
Okay.
have 10 raised to the power 5. We can have 10 raised to the power 5 directories in each folder,
Hmm.
right? And the maximum which we can go inside is 500 directories,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
So
I
let's
forget
so
that limit.
now we
Yeah.
have so now we
Hmm.
have 5
Hmm.
into 10 raised to the power 7 directories to traverse.
Absolutely,
Plus
absolutely.
we have CSVs.
Right,
So
right,
how
absolutely.
would you do that?
Right, absolutely. So
So
that's limit. It's my bad. I totally have ignored that we can go in a depth only till 500. It look like now the depth first search can go entirely. It's not a right approach, but a level based search would be the right approach. So level I can fix till 500. I will search only till 500. And why depth
I
first
want
search
to
in which I
understand. Sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you. I want to understand why we can't use depth first search here.
Because depth first search, we can use depth first search also. We can limit that depth first search till 500 while entering. After 500, we can stop that things. But like it will go in one directory first, and if it's not able to find something, then it will go to the second directory. But if I go with the depth first search, from first level, it will transfer all the CSV first to a remote server. At least we are
Right.
start sending the CSV, and then from the second level, I start sending the CSV. In case there is a limit exceed on a remote server, in any meantime, I can stop my operation there. It would not be like I would not be able to get any CSV. Like I
Mhm.
would be able to get some data as per the storage. So I feel like if I want to make a limit of 500 directory, level by level transmission would be a good. Even though we can do with a depth first search also by limiting a transaction to 500. Both can be done. In bet first search, we have an extra advantage that we start getting the data from a first level itself, and then if we face some tremendous error like storage error or something, we can stop the things in between and start the things from the same point over a different machine, and we can distribute the CSV accordingly. Although the same theory we can implement in DFS also, it's not a problem.
So the next problem we have here is that if we just keep doing it in a linear fashion, it is going to take a lot of time,
Yes, yes, right,
right?
right.
So although so just to
Mhm.
clarify, we know that most of the interview questions are linear, right?
Mhm.
But here I am giving you this flexibility. I want you to give this flexibility, and I want you to
Mhm.
use this flexibility so that
Mhm.
you you are not limited to use a linear approach.
Oh, great. Oh, great. I think then I can create a concurrent threads inside to traverse certain amount of file directory in a different pipeline, in a different process pipeline with
Mm-hmm.
certain different concurrent thread limits. Like if I am doing a server client connection, the concurrent thread limits can be very high based on my server. It can be
Mm-hmm.
reached to more than 50 or 100. I can set up that thing if the file data is not very high and process is allowing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Based on that, I can make certain like multiple pipeline with multiple concrete threads connection inside to take that thing. But the only problem is if I'm using a concrete thread approach, then better is to use DFS instead of BFS, because then I would not be able to track inside one level uh, how many I already have traversed in a single thread, and if the 100 is already covered in a single thread, then reaching to directly in a second thread, reaching to a second level would be a waste of resource of the first level. So it's better I can provide a complete node to adding a single thread
Cool, cool,
and
cool.
another node to a different thread, and then each thread I will do a DFS till 500 connection and search for a CSV and transfer that to a remote server. Is that a right thing?
Sure. So, what all different threads would be there?
Mm, uh, I'm sorry, like you,
So, I want to know that you just mentioned that you would be creating concurrent threads.
right.
I, could you just explain it to me that what different threads would be doing?
Uh, like I'm assuming from the perspective of Java concurrent threads mechanism, in
Mm-hmm.
which we can create a thread class, and via thread pool, I can just generate that thread class that threads multiple
Mm-hmm.
threads, which will create a pipeline of thread pools. In thread pools, I will do a certain functionality, which would be my DFS functionality. So I'm not thinking
Okay.
on
So,
the basis of certain system threads. It's like an application thread which I'm generating.
okay. So, if I understand you correctly, what you're doing is you would be uh, traversing through your directories, and as you traverse through your directories, you would start creating threads,
Right.
which
I'm
would
assigning.
again which would
Mhm.
again traverse inside and find a CSV and send a HTTP request, is it?
Right, right. The main problem which I'm seeing is the read-write operations are limited. We would not be able to multiply that read-write operation of the system while
One,
sending to a remote server.
I
Uh,
so one more problem with that. So any
mhm.
system would have a limit on the number of threads you can span,
Right, absolutely,
right? So
absolutely. Thread pool has a limit.
thread pool has a limit. Plus, if even if you do not use thread pool, I
Mhm.
do not think that a system can give you 5 into 10 raised to the power 7 threads.
Exactly, exactly.
They
You're
are
absolutely right.
limited to some, if I remember, 36,000 or somewhere, something like
Right,
that,
right,
or 2
right,
lakh,
right,
something like that,
right,
right?
right.
So
You're
it would,
absolutely right.
right. So how would you get over that?
Initially, if I just want to do that over a single system with again the same thread pool, I might be aware about my system thread pool limit. Based on that, I create a task with that under that limit only.
Mhm.
Inside that limit, because the read write operation is also limited to one thread only. It's a single thread process. So I have to synchronize my threading inside a single thread pool. I reach that thread pool limit to the maximum of that system. Suppose the system limit is only 100, but I have
Mhm.
to make a 500. I have more than 500 directory inside that. Then I take the 100 first. Inside 100, I will make a synchronization to read one by one particular, like transferring one by one that CSV
Mhm.
because of IO content. Once I finish that 100 thing, I will move to the next chunk of 100 inside. If I am planning to do over a single system, because I'm assuming that all the data are consolidated over a single system, so it's not like I can utilize the resources of a different system for traversing a different directory structure. uh,
Mhm. So now, if you consider there's things, Sandeep, that uh, traversing directories, reading CSVs, and making HTTP requests.
mhm.
These are the three basic things which we have to do. Right?
Right,
They have so traversing directories may not take more time, but reading CSVs may take more time,
right.
right? And sending HTTP requests again can take time.
Mhm. Right.
So depending upon this, your single thread can take a lot of time to
Right,
start and then end,
right.
right? So while you are doing this,
Hmm.
all other threads would be waiting.
Right, right. Absolutely
Sorry,
right.
all other processes would be waiting.
Right, absolutely right.
So how can you avoid that?
Uh, like if I want to transfer my file system to a different remote server, instead of completion of one task, I can think of like I will send the data in chunks over a different machine, uh, which like initially when I started that node traversing, I will first send the metadata of all CSV files so that the structure can be created over a second machine.
No,
Then
we cannot do that. So we have a
okay,
single machine,
okay.
and all we can do with is a single machine. We can, although we can use threads,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Okay,
we have to keep
okay,
using a single machine. Anyway, I
okay.
mean, let's do this. We not have much time left.
Hmm.
Uh, so how about you start writing? So it's fine with your approach as well. We can have a lot of concurrency. We will talk about an optimized solution later, right? But
Okay,
I want
okay,
you to let us implement the solution which you have right. Let us see
okay,
how we
okay,
can implement.
okay. Okay, first I try to implement a basic BFS, then we will convert that into a different synchronized thread and we'll
So
improve it
uh,
further.
so I
Right.
want you to write a production ready code. So whatever you are writing, the
Mm-hmm.
input the input to your entire process and till the
Mm-hmm.
output, right, till you make the
Mm-hmm.
rest call, the entire thing should be
Mm-hmm.
a production ready code, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
write it in a way that you would write it for a production application.
Okay. First, I try to make. Sorry for this capitalization.
Hmm.
The notepad is making it
Avoid that.
automatically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
avoid that.
First, I'm try to make a small function. Like it will take and string array. I'm considering the file name as string. Take yeah.
Why are we considering it an array?
I'm considering that all the file names which I'm getting at root level, that is a chunk of an array of
Mm,
file names.
no, so we will just get one root folder, path of the root folder.
Oh,
That's it.
okay. So let's consider that I receive a node which is a root folder, and okay, so
No, again, let's just say you would receive a string which will have a
okay,
path of the root folder.
Okay.
right? So like
Okay.
I mentioned above, you would have disk IO interfaces.
Mhm. Okay.
So you may use one. Disk
Mm,
IO
okay.
or say file IO. File IO makes more sense when we are talking about Java.
Okay. I don't remember actually that file API class,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. No,
somehow,
that is why I said that you have this, right? Again, I mean,
yeah,
it is just a string.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it is a string.
yeah,
So you can
yeah.
so assume you have your methods,
Right, right, right,
right? Assume you have your implementations and whatever method you want to write, you can write there.
right, right.
Just assume you have the implementations. I do not want you to bother about file. Fine. If you know them, better.
Okay,
If you do not know them, do not bother about them.
okay, okay, okay. Okay, I'm assuming that I'm receiving that root folder as a string from my IO class as a
Yes.
file.read name something in that
Yes.
API. That I'm passing to my traversing method,
Mhm.
which is I'm giving a name of DFS, or we can say the traversing file, traverse file kind of method. In that method, I have the string. I'm just assuming what I need to consider that the string has a slash and then getting the name. The file is the file API is giving me a folder name with the same string and then have a slash after that, right? So
Mhm.
while I'm just assuming. Sorry again for this capitalization.
Yeah, yeah, just ignore it.
I'm just assuming that till the time this root folder name, its substring till the end index is not zero, I have to traverse. The concept I'm thinking is I will always check the substring with the base root folder name. If the substring is keep increasing like root folder slash abc, then root folder slash abc slash xyz. If it's keep increasing, I will keep traversing. Once its substring provide me an end of the string, then I will stop my traversing. That would be the end of dictionary directory. Like it's not having any other folder inside. That's I'm assuming that that's how file API is providing me the strings. Is if it's keep providing me a string with a base folder and then a next folder name after slash.
Mhm, mhm. Okay.
So I can say I have a base string equal to that root folder name, and while base string, okay, I'm reading from file always. I have to send file inside so that I can write an iterator over that. With one root folder, I think I would not be able to iterate. In system will not be provide an iterator over it, but a file will provide an iterator so that I can get another directory. Uh, like it's like iterator in which I am providing my file iterator, which will call while file iterator dot has next. Uh,
So what does it mean? What does has next mean here? So it can
uh,
mean that you have so inside your directory you can have multiple CSV files,
right, right.
or
But
you can have directories. So what does this has next mean?
has next is I'm keeping on a file API, it will provide me a directory name only. So if I will do like dot cd in that directory, I will get the files inside. But the file name which I'm retrieving from this iterator, that's only till directories. It will not provide the details inside that if that's not a directory. I'm assuming it providing me only directory names.
Okay.
Here I call my traverse file. Here I'm passing my directory structure, which is my file iterator.hats next, so I can write. Sorry. What next? Traverse file. This I am calling from here every time. Okay. Then I am receiving the file name every time in this traverse file. Once I receive the file name, I have to check this folder. I don't remember actually a method to do a cd inside that folder and to get others file name which are present in that. I think I have to open a stream for that file. I'm assuming I'm opening a file dot stream. It's might be a wrong. I don't remember the
Yeah,
syntax.
that's fine.
And then passing my base string inside, which is providing it's greater than 0. It's providing me all the content inside. The condition I'm thinking it's greater than 0. I have to traverse one by one. Okay, yeah, it's greater than 0. Okay, suppose again getting
So
that cd object.
you might also want to check whether the current file which you are checking, whether it is a file or a directory before using file.string.
Right, right. So I was assuming that the file iterator will provide me only directory, so that problem will resolve there. It will not pass the file. Then through that
Okay.
file which I'm receiving in that file iterator, I will pass into. I will start reading that stream, that CD stream from that particular directory. I will pass that directory name into my file something, and that will provide me the content of that particular directory. That's why I have not provided any condition here, another condition here. Uh, Although this method name is completely wrong, this is not a way to do a CD. I totally forget that thing. I'm just trying to write a concept that,
Okay, you're trying to do a CD, right? Is it?
right, I'm trying to do a CD here.
Okay, okay, okay.
Uh,
So
if
I
the
mean,
CD is having,
mhm,
right, right, if the CD is having a content greater than 0,
mhm.
uh, like it's CD is having a
So you can
content
write
greater.
get directories. Just do a get rather than writing it a string. You can just write get directory,
Okay.
right? I mean
Again,
that
then
is
I
what.
have to check whether it's a directory or a file, right?
So when
I
you are
think,
saying get directories, it means just directories.
yeah, right. So, okay. So here my intent is not to get the directories actually, just the
But
file.
okay, just the file. So what you can do
Yeah,
is you can say get children, and then you can see if it is a file or a folder. It is a file or
right,
a directory.
right, right. So I'm okay. So suppose
Because
I'm
stream is a bit uh,
right. Okay,
confusing, right? So I thought
right.
that you are reading that file.
Okay. If I have a content greater than 0, I will check. I will make a statement over it to traverse it further. Uh, mm, I can like simple for each loop if I am considering it's at an array of all the directory. So, so string
Mhm.
children inside that file dot children base string. file dot children base string,
Mhm.
right? And then one by one I check if children dot. I'm assuming I will create a method for that. If directory,
Right.
if not directory, I will check for the if children dot
So the
mention.
type of children, if you say it is string and you are checking is directory on
Right,
string,
right.
you
So
might want to change that.
okay, okay. Inside that, like
No, what I
inside,
mean is in your for each loop,
right,
you have defined children, right? So the type
right,
of
right,
children is string,
right.
and you are trying to be, invoke a method is directory on string. String doesn't
Mm,
have its directory, that is for sure. You might
right, right,
Do you want to change
right.
this type here?
To file, like it's
I
a
mean, it
file,
would certainly not be string.
right? It's a stream of file or a folder. Uh, let's consider a folder
Okay.
or a stream of file. We can say like
You are
any.
free to
Okay,
you are free to implement your pojos and your you're free to define your pojos and your interfaces for file IO,
right,
but I do
right,
not want to
right,
stop you there.
right. If that's CSV, invoke dot HTTP, like I'm invoking my HTTP function with a complete base string, which is a complete children string, like this will start transferring my children. And before that I have to imply the DFS also. I just write the logic but have not implied the DFS in this. Somewhere uh, I'm taking one by one this children. I will invoke my stack here, stack of a folder here. It's like a base string, yeah, stack of folder, and then it's a stack is equal to new stack. Okay, I'm keeping my the stack dot
Mhm.
put children, and if this system is directory, then I put that in my stack because I have to search further and have to imply if children extension CSV, HTTP children,
Mhm.
uh, else I have to uh, else. Okay, it's like if it's a directory, if children is a directory, is directory not, I will put that in a, okay, sorry. That will come at each level. I'm keeping my children here, and then while checking children is a directory or not. If it's not a directory and having an extension CSV, I will invoke my method uh, else, and we will remove that dot pop. Okay, it's like,
So if it is
yeah.
not a directory, we do not need to push it in the queue itself.
Mm, I'm sorry.
So if it is not a directory, we might not
Right.
need to push it in the stack.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I don't have to traverse it further. Yeah, right, right. So if children is directly not, I'm not pushing it.
You might want to reconsider where to put this statement.
Yeah. So very first time when I entered, Okay. Okay, yeah. Generally, what I do in DFS, I add my first element in a very beginning. So I can say
Okay.
the very first element this will provide me uh, very first children. I am putting that inside, and then uh, I put I pop my stack uh, uh, here when I enter.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the follow, and with that pop stack, I check everything, and if that is directory, I will do stack dot push. I taken my first kid here. I entered my first kid, like, and then with first kid, I pop by my giving a first kid. Okay, making a mistake here. I'm getting all the kids in
So
my for each loop.
in your stack, you have added all your children for the first for the string
No,
which you are
actually,
getting.
yeah, actually, I just want to add my zeroth children, the very first children, and then I start the loop. Sorry, actually, this for each loop is suffixing the same thing. I don't have to go in that way.
Okay.
Instead of this for each loop, I have to write like from where to where I have to traverse this for like the start size or length something, and then I will keep increasing that loop.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Very first time I pop, I check, I invoke, else I push the same one,
Mm-hmm.
I plus plus, and I stack that push my second kid here, like file dot uh, children plus plus. I can do that in a while also because I'm already doing plus plus here. So
Mm-hmm.
suppose the statement I'm keeping um, outside, I'm saying this is my uh, nodes level, and I'm saying this nodes level is less than uh, complete size, and I will do node level plus plus. I
Okay.
ignore, and then I get my plus plus node level. Here it will invoke my structure. Uh, okay, let's test this with one case. Suppose I get a very first uh, a root.
Right. So
That
where
is
would
my
it?
base string.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Wo-
receive all the kids of my.
Would it start from iterator or would it start from traverse? Like when would your
I'm
execution
sorry.
start? So your execution would start from iterator or from traverse file.
My execution will start from my iterator here. I'm providing one by one the directory name inside.
Okay.
Very first directory will call my DFS for
Mm-hmm.
structure. Here I can implies my threads also
Okay.
based on my thread limits.
Okay.
Then once it get called with a directory name, I receive the base directory. Inside that base directory, I'm fetching all the kits. Kits are greater than zero, then I will go further. Otherwise, I will return somewhere after this. somewhere I will return if this if has not met. Then in that directory, I'm maintaining my stack of all the content of that directory. I push my first content in that stack. Then I start my while loop with the content size.
Can you walk me through with your cursor, please? Because I'm not able to understand where
I'm,
you.
I'm sorry.
So if I mean, if you could, explain to me with your cursor, yes, so that I can follow on which line
Oh,
you are
oh,
saying
oh,
what.
sorry. I thought my cursor is visible to you. Okay, sorry. Okay. So I start from beginning. Here we will do the threads one by one. We pass our directory into our DFS method. Very first time we pass one root directory into our traverse file. I'm assuming if there would be a lot of root directory there, one by one it start passing into a DFS, which we can control via thread. Once we starting our DFS over a particular folder, we implies a base string like the base folder as our root. Then we will check whether that is empty or not. If that is not empty, we initialize our stack and we
Okay.
start filling the stack with our very first kid, our first children.
Mhm.
We take that children and traverse it further with a condition that there are other children also. One by one, we start increasing the children size or the number of children inside that while.
Mhm.
We take first children. We check that whether that is a directory of a file. If that's a directory, if that's a file, we check whether that's a CSV file or not. If that's a CSV file, we invoke our HTTP connection. Else we start pushing over that directory. Else we assume that that's a directory and start pushing that into our stack again. In that way, we start filling the stack, and one by one we start. Oh, sorry. I think we we just have to check here whether the stack is empty or not. Is stack is empty or not? Uh, Sorry, the stack is empty. So I filled my stack with first child. I do the DFS over that child one by one, keeping the directories and kits. I will start
Mhm.
checking whether that's directory is a file or not. Based on that, I will invoke my function and start filling this stack. This stack will get filled for that particular directory which we have traversed, which we have started via our iterator here. This is for first directory, then our iterator will pass another directory. This TFL will be called over that directory, and that way, one by one, we will start calling our DFS. Now, your second concern was if the root folders are very high. First, we have that level concern of 500, and then in one side we can have 10 is to power 5 directory. So whether we can control that via thread or not. This thread things we can imply in our iterator, like uh, I can call it thread pool. I might be wrong with the syntax of this thread pool. I have not used that long time, but I think I have to giving certain limit here. I'm assuming that my limit system limit I am fetching from certain files of certain system configuration. That limit via that limit I'm creating my pool, and in one pool
We have. So we are already past our time, but 5 minutes past our time.
yeah,
But I'm willing to give you 5 more minutes so that you can complete.
okay. In my pool I'm starting my yep, in my pool I'm starting my this function. Then I left with that 500 limit. That I need to fix that in DFS. If that stack size, now I'm keeping my stack increasing with an element which I need to traverse.
Mhm.
So at a time it cannot be 500 because it's keep popping the element one by one for traversing purpose. Uh, I'm thinking that how I can
Is there a thread pool
understand.
class in Java?
We have threads, synchronized threads and threads. Based on that, we can create certain pools, but I don't remember the syntax of creating a thread pool. But I usually work in Android, so in Android there are thread pools.
Okay, okay.
But we can create multiple threads also in Java, like it's like we have to start a loop to create that thread. That's what I'm thinking right now. If we don't have a thread pool class, so thread pool is generally is giving based on a system configuration is providing us a processor limit, and based on that limit is providing us access to all that thread we can create in that limit. That's we are getting in application layer of Android. But in Java, if we have to create that in the beginning, we can create a loop. We provide our own limit, and based on that loop, we start creating one by one the thread and passing this traverse file. The only challenge is we have to synchronize the thread somewhere. So I'm assuming, suppose if this is my thread pool class, which I'm creating somewhere, uh, I have to use that with a synchronized keyword. Uh, and then uh, we'll pass the limit like which I want to pass a system limit or something in that. Uh, that method we have to create for making it synchronize. Like I need to pass my system limit, I think. Uh, then instead of a normal thread pool, I have to pass everything into my customized thread pool class, which is synchronized, so that a key, a token can be exchanged, a lock key can be exchanged in between. Uh, uh, More I'm concerned about that 500 things. If I'm traversing in a stack, I'm keep
Okay.
popping the stuff. I'm assuming that I might have choose a wrong selection by stack, because if I am keep popping, I would not be able to get a limit when it's cross 500 one by one when it entering into stack. Another thing which I'm getting is wherever I'm creating a push, I can create a customized uh, variable which is a
Okay.
limit, and that
Um,
yeah, I understand the time is up. That
yeah.
condition I can push here. If that limit exceed, if this limit exceed greater equal to 500, uh, limit is less than equal to 500, then only I have to push. Otherwise, I just have to
Okay.
come out and return somewhere, something like that.
Okay. So yeah, I would have to stop you here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So because
Yeah.
I want to keep 1 minute for any questions if you have for me.
Related to this code or related to anything?
Related to anything. So just like, I mean, if you
Okay.
have any questions about Google or any other company or interview
Yeah.
process, and you have any questions regarding the interview, this
Yes,
interview.
yes. So, Costa, in an actual interview, I definitely will ask about my positions, roles, and responsibilities. I think, which generally mentioned in the JD also. I will try to clarify what kind of projects are there and what would be the actual roles and responsibility over that project. But from you, I try to understand that my position is a site reliability engineer, in which I'm
Okay.
pushing myself.
Okay.
So what's the difference between an actual difference between a software engineer and a site reliability engineer? Although I have read many articles on YouTube, through that I
So
get an understanding. It's included DevOps also inside. Moreover, the operations and
yes,
network.
yes. Right. So the
Oh,
TLDR here for SRE would be DevOps, right?
okay.
But
Yeah.
if you consider DevOps and other organizations. As far as I have seen DevOps in Wipro, TCS, Oracle, all these places,
Mhm. Right.
and I have seen SREs in TCS. So both work at a very different scale.
Right. Right. Right.
And so the point here is that even if you are an SRE, it depends upon which product you are being SRE for,
Okay, okay.
right?
Because my profile is basically an application side and on solutioning side. So it's include DevOps, but not as a DevOps engineer. Like they have major role in configurations of all this
Yes,
DevOps
yes,
engine.
yes,
But
yes. So I mean that is so the TLDR is DevOps, but SRE is not just DevOps. So
okay,
right. So like I mentioned, right, I have seen SREs or DevOps in Wipro, TCS, Oracle, right?
hmm
But in Google, they work at a very different scale,
hmm
right? So when I say they work at a very different scale, what I mean is that they do not just work on configurations,
okay,
not at all, no. So what they do is they provide you tools and services by which you can monitor your own applications, right?
okay,
Plus, there is a support which they provide to different teams or different applications where they monitor and set up various rules and alerts and monitoring systems for different applications, right?
hmm
And what we basically check with SREs is that what do we need to do to make our services more reliable, right?
okay,
And
okay,
how do we so errors are supposed to happen. Right? We
hmm
cannot say that my system would be up 100% of time,
hmm
right? So we
right,
need what we do is we check with them that how can we make our systems more reliable, and when it fails, how do we get to know about
right,
it, right? So these are all the things which SREs tell us. Plus, SREs have a lot of development work as well, right?
okay,
I'm not very much sure how what exactly they do for development, but there have been multiple tools developed till now. And I'm
okay,
pretty much sure that most of the tools which they have developed, they are in progress of scrapping them out and create new tools.
okay,
Because
okay,
anything in Google stays for like 4 to 5 years and then it is scrapped. Because just after 2 years, a rewrite is done usually,
okay, okay,
right? So although there are many applications which are still longer, but applications and everything is every time they are being revamped, right? So this
okay.
is what I think you would be doing as an SRE in Google.
Okay. Yes,
So
thanks for answer that.
any other questions about your role or anything else in Google or any other company?
I'm actually just trying to relate this rule with my complete profile, but I'm still a little confused that whether it's justifying the work which I have done in the past or it's a
So
completely new.
you have mostly done your work in Java and Android, is it?
Yes, Java, Android, JS, HTML, more over the application side, application layer,
Yeah,
web and mobile applications.
web and mobile app. So here you would not be doing exactly web and mobile applications,
Hmm
right?
Okay,
To be very clear, it would not just be web and mobile applications. So
okay,
you can extend whatever infrastructure or whatever applications we have to to mobile as well. We already have that in web, right? You
okay,
can do that effort, but the point is your focus would be totally different.
okay,
So the focus of an SRE is how to keep the infrastructure up and running and how to provide as much information as possible about that infrastructure, right?
okay,
So,
okay.
so if you read about Bog,
hmm
I mean, Bog is a predecessor of Kubernetes.
Okay, yeah,
There are papers online which you
right,
can read about Bog, right? So,
right.
Bog is all Kubernetes has moved to a different tangent than Bog is right now, but you would be getting to know about the infrastructure a lot more than web development than development.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
being an architect, that would be more about more of what you would be doing. So
Okay.
whatever you have done till now
Hmm.
in TCS, usually that is the development team which does,
Okay.
right? So mostly the designing of your applications, uh,
Mhm.
how to set up CI/CD, and the tools
Right.
are provided by, again, the tools are provided by other software engineering teams and SRE teams.
Right.
But how to integrate with them, how to use them, that is something which is done by the development team into it.
Right. Right.
Right? SREs do not need SREs are not required to do that, and developers can do that independently because here in Google, I mean, when we say developers, they're full stack developers, right?
All
We
right.
we do deployment. We start from designing and we do everything till deployment.
Okay.
It's not like we are it's not like we do our development, then we give our build to someone and they deploy, and they
Okay.
decide what infrastructure would be required or how much service. Nothing like that. It is us developers who decide, okay, we need this much, uh, we need these many servers, we need this cache, this is how we will set it up, we need this database, we need this and that, we will set it all up for ourselves.
Mhm.
There is no other team which will be doing that for us,
Okay.
right? There would be certain reviews which would be happening whether we should be doing it or not, or whether we should be using it or not, but nothing else,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So uh, SREs are at a different. So SREs would be doing something different.
Mhm.
There are
Okay.
SREs who are looking into the entire, you know, data centers of Google, right? Then there are SREs who are looking into the entire infrastructure of YouTube or say Google Pay or Corpenge for which I am working, right?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
SRE cuts through different development teams, and that is where their role comes from. It is a bit
Okay.
different. So
Okay.
I mean, if it floats your boat, then I would say SRE roles are pretty interesting, and
Okay.
we usually have very experienced folks in SREs. There
Okay.
are there are many less experienced folks as well, but most of the people in SRE team are well experienced. They know how the infrastructure as a whole works.
Okay. Okay. That's great.
That is basically what SRE does. You might
That's
not
great.
be doing much development, maybe. The development work would be a bit less, but you would be understanding this entire system, entire infrastructure as a whole, and that is huge.
Okay. Okay. That's great.
So let us now start with our feedback.
Okay.
First of all, I would start with the things I liked very much about you.
Okay.
First of all, you were amazing in communication. You were telling me what you want to do, what you are doing, and how you would do it. So
Okay.
in the
Thank you.
entire interview, I didn't feel for even a minute that I'm getting bored, or uh, or you had my attention for the entire span.
Okay.
So it has happened to me quite a few times that the interviewee loses my attention,
Right.
right? Even if for a fraction of seconds. Right? As soon as I realize
Mhm.
that the interview has lost my attention, I get back to them. But then it happens a lot of time that interview loses my attention. Why? Because they are not talking,
Right.
right? So that was pretty good that you were talking to me at every point in time and you were explaining it, everything which you did. Another thing which I appreciate a lot is that resolved you resolved your doubts and you mentioned what assumptions you have. That was pretty
Okay.
good, which I think, right? The next thing is you gave me a base solution about using DFS and how you would be doing it. And when I mentioned that you can use a different approach, you can use multi-threading, then you were flexible enough to switch to that approach, and you were ready to switch to that approach, right? So these are the things which I
Okay.
liked a lot about. right? Now, if I try to be a bit critical, then what I would say is, first of all, what I felt, DFS. You
Mhm.
can implement DFS, but you're very, very comfortable using DFS with graphs,
Mhm.
which I felt. Just let me know if I'm wrong anyway. Right? So I felt that you're
Uh,
very, very comfortable using DFS with graphs, right?
with
For
trees, yeah.
with trees and graphs, right?
Mhm.
However,
Right.
let's say if you are given DFS in a different scenario,
Mhm.
then you might lose the track like you did here.
Okay. Okay.
If you just follow my cursor, for following
Mhm.
my cursor, you can click on the circle at top right corner where there is a K, or there would be my image, something like that.
Uh,
So,
okay.
right, so you lost a lot of context of using DFS while we
Mhm.
are while implementing it, right? Like you are using stack, but how would you track that you have visited a node and you do not want to visit it,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So that is about the DFS part, and I'm not and the code is a bit confusing here. I could not understand most of the code, to be honest, inside your traverse file,
Okay.
right? But yeah, the DF, I would say that try to understand uh, the essence of DFS, right?
Mhm. Right.
And maybe try to attempt it. Doesn't matter if it is a graph or a tree,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
We can do a DFS inside a two-dimensional array as well,
Right. Right. Yeah. Absolutely right.
right? So, and again, I would tell you how it would have been much easier to do.
Mhm.
So this is the first thing which I felt that which struck to me a lot, because I could see that you know DFS, but
Okay.
I could see that you know DFS from the context of trees and graphs,
Okay.
right? I hope you felt that uneasiness as well while you were implementing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
a bit difficult in visualizing that. Okay, we are doing it with files. How to do DFS here, right? What
Mhm.
methods should I
Right.
be using?
Mhm.
So that is one thing. The next thing
Okay.
is, I asked you to do a production ready code,
Mhm.
right? With assumptions that you may use any file IO interfaces, you may use any HTTP IO interfaces, and you may define your own. I do not
Mhm.
bother about it. I do not want to. I
Mhm.
do not want you to bother about those things,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
But again, the catch, the point here is, not, I would not say catch, but the point here is, you have to define those interfaces in a way that it makes it easier for you to do your operations,
Okay.
right? I would be getting deeper into that, but before that, another
Mhm.
thing for production ready code is object-oriented programming.
Mhm. Right.
I do not see that here,
Okay. Okay.
right? So you have directly started writing methods and other methods. What
Oh. Okay. Okay.
I would have wanted you to do is define a few classes,
Mhm.
right? There should have been separation of concern there,
Mhm. Right.
right? And then I would have liked to see that how each class is implementing that solution.
Right. 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 That's
So,
that's a great point here.
so I would have liked you to do that, because you would not usually see this kind of approach on other programming sites,
Mhm.
right? Lead code, GFG. GFG is totally, I mean, it's very good site, but if you talk about oops,
Mhm.
it I mean, it is not that good if you see the uh, solutions there. The reason is very, very simple. The
Right.
reason is that because folks there are either in college doing competitive programming day in day out, or they are just out of college and they do not have much experience with coding. I
Right.
mean, writing oops code, right? But a person with your experience, I would expect you to write OOPS code, right?
Right.
With
Right.
OOPS concepts in mind.
Right.
So try to whenever you are asked such questions, make sure that you are you have the structure, class structure in mind, right?
Okay. Okay.
So this I would tell you why I picked this question as well later, right? So let's try to do OOPS here. Okay. Now, how
Right.
would you have done your file interfaces? I will give you a brief about it.
I need.
If you
Yeah, I
could,
need to implement. I think. Yeah.
you do
Implement
not need
those
to
interfaces.
implement, but you could have defined a simple interface for your file.
Okay.
Even if not defined, but you could have mentioned that I would have used this, I would have used that. And I would
Right.
have expected you to have a little bit of knowledge about what methods are already there in file.
Okay.
Even if not, it's fine, but if you would have known, it would have been much better. So
Right.
if you
Right.
can again
Definitely.
follow my interface, sorry, my cursor. So
Okay. Yes.
inside my file, I would have expected you to know, I would have expected you to write get children. Right? So get children is again very, very analogous to graph, right? So again, when I say get children, it would have returned me, let's just say a list. And this would be an immutable list.
Right.
The next thing would be, if I am in a file, it should tell me whether it is a directory.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe I can have another method whether it is, let's say, a file. So I would have required only these three functions, and yes, I would have required string extension, not extension, get extension.
Got it. Got it.
Right, and I would have created more functions as and when required.
Right. Right. Right.
Right, so I would have expected you to use such kind of functions. It would have been much easier,
Right. Right.
right, if you would have defined it. So
Right.
the problems which you are facing here, right, if you again follow my cursor. So the problems that you are facing here, that okay, whether it should be a string or whether it should be a file, right? While implementing it, you said, okay, let's make it a folder. So
Got it.
these kind of
Yes.
problems would have been resolved.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Another thing, just a small nit-grit thing, just make sure that you take care of indentation.
Okay.
Very important. Right?
Okay.
So the indentation is a bit haphazard here, but make sure you try to keep that in check.
Sure. Sure. Definitely.
All right. So if you would have created this file in data structure, right? It might have been much easier for you to traverse through your. It might have been much easier to implement your DFS.
Right. Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
Another thing, while you were adding your method, so children, we do not use such method names in Java. Right? It would have been
Yeah.
get children.
Right. Right.
Right? Then file.children. Then you use file.children array, which is not exactly an array, or it could have been an array, but we would not have used it like this. It would have been a method. And then
Right. Right.
after parenthesis, after round parenthesis, you could have used square parenthesis. There are, and then invoke space HTTP. I could not understand why something like this, why there is a space. It could have been a mistake. Then I saw somewhere else as well that you missed parenthesis. I'm not sure where. Has next. It file iterator dot has next.
Okay.
These are small things, right?
Right.
But we should not make these silly mistakes,
Right. Right. Definitely.
right? So you should know that you are calling a method, and
Mhm.
it is not. It is a method, and it is not an attribute.
Right. Right. Right.
It is not a variable, class variable.
Mhm. Right.
You would always be checking if it. You would always be accessing the methods, right? So
Right.
if
Right.
if we are using a field here, there could be two things an interviewer may think. The interviewer may think that you do not know that iterator has a has next function and not a has next variable, which
Right.
is accessible, which
Right.
is a negative thing,
Mhm.
right? Or they may think that you have implemented a custom iterator and you have exposed a variable which can now be uh, updated as well,
Mhm.
right? Which is a risk. We can say which can
Right. Right.
which can give a lot of bugs or security issues in your.
Right. Right. Absolutely right.
So these are few things which we could have improved,
Right.
and the
Definitely.
approach which you took, I think it could have been improved.
Okay.
How? Because like I mentioned, right? So you said that the entire end-to-end operation
Mhm.
would be done inside threads,
Right.
right? So here the problem is at what point of time would you start spawning threads, right? And even if
Okay.
you start spawning threads at that particular depth,
Mhm.
right? That is what I was assuming you were saying, right? That you would start iterating through your uh, root folder. You would start from
Mhm.
root folder, right? And then at one point you would create a thread pool and you would start pushing your files inside it,
Mhm.
right? However, I'm not sure. Thread pool is definitely not a class inside Java.
Mhm.
It is executor service, and there is thread pool executor.
Mhm.
I guess thread pool executor could be a class, but there is executor service which provides you a thread pool, and there could be a thread pool executor,
Okay.
right? But here I'm not saying that you are starting a new thread and how you are starting new thread uh, for different processes, for different files or different uh, BFS. So
Mhm.
the the approach which I got from you is you would start from a certain level doing DFS, and at that
Mhm.
particular level, depending upon how many files or folders you have, you would just spawn. You will start spawning new threads for them.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
works. That works. That certainly works. But think about it. If you have 5 into 10 raised to the power 7 possible CSV files,
Mhm. Right.
actually even more than that,
Mhm.
then each and every thread is going to take a lot of time
Exactly. Yeah.
because file traversal takes time, file reading takes time,
Right.
HTTP post request takes time,
Right.
right? So your entire process would have been much slower, could have been much slower, right?
Mhm.
Now, what
Right.
if I want to make it faster? So I gave you a hint about it that traversing through the folder, reading files, and sending HTTP requests. These are the uh, these are the basic three things which we are doing. Separate
Mhm.
three things which we are doing, right?
Okay.
So if we visualize it, we could have broken our execution in these three parts,
Mhm.
right? What I wanted you to implement here is a message queue,
Okay.
essentially a message queue. That's it. I was
Okay.
not concerned about how you use your file system, how you do your HTTP client. I
Mhm.
wanted to see how you do DFS,
Mhm.
how you implement a messaging queue,
Mhm.
if you would, or how would you make that multi-thread application and do a separation of concern, right? How would you
Okay.
maintain that in your code? I wanted to see that, right?
Okay. Okay.
So how would you would have done is first, again, if you could please follow my code. First,
Okay.
uh, thread group to traverse file system, right?
Okay.
Do BFS push CSV to queue.
Okay.
This would be this would be the concern for one thread group, thread pool.
Mhm.
You may say. Second,
Okay.
thread group to read CSV.
Okay.
Read from Q1, right? Send output Q2.
Okay.
So you would have read it from one Q1 and then you would have sent your response to Q2, whatever the file content is there, right?
Okay.
Now, thread group for HTTP, right? It would be just read from Q2, send HTTP.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
so if
Three
you would have
separate groups.
three separate groups, right? Now, how would it would have helped you? Because
Okay.
again, you may say that we have too many CSVs. How does it help
Mhm.
me with my performance? So the response to that is you can traverse through file system much faster
Mhm.
than you read your CSV.
Okay.
If we can assume that, right? Considering your CSV
Okay.
can be small or CSV can be huge. This is another question you could have asked me.
Okay. Okay.
Whether how big would be the CSVs? So the
Okay. Yeah.
CSVs wouldn't be that big that they might not be read or kept in memory, but yeah. Again, when we are reading through the CSVs, they can be large enough to take more time than traversing.
Right.
Traversing just one level, right? So what I would
Right.
do is I would rather do not a DFS but
Mhm.
a breadth first search,
Okay. Mhm. Okay.
right? Why I would do a
Okay.
breadth first search is because as soon as I find a file on my first level on my nth level,
Mhm.
I would want to read it and send it across,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then what I would have mentioned to my interviewer is I would do some amount of profiling and understand the ratio of threads I would need for traversing,
Mhm.
reading,
Mhm.
and for my HTML.
Okay.
Obviously, the count of threads for traversing would be less. The count of threads for reading CSV would be a bit more. And for HTTP, again, it would be a bit less,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is how we could have implemented the solution. Now, to be
Yes.
very, very fair with you, this question was not an easy question. To be very,
Okay.
very honest, right? I would not have expected you to write a solution for it,
Okay.
perfect solution for it. What I would have, if you would have been able to write a perfect solution in 45 minutes or 1 hour, I would have said that you have to be hired.
Okay.
I mean, I would have straight away given you a strong heart, right?
Right.
So the things which I would have tested you here is how do you group your threads, right?
Mhm.
How would you implement? How would you abstractly implement a queue system, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so what data structures would you use from whatever
Mhm.
data structures we have? Concurrent data. What concurrent data structures you would be using? How you would be using? How you would be,
Mhm.
starting and stopping threads if possible. I mean, not necessary,
Okay.
right? That would be that is what I would have checked here. And and the most important point is how you would have implemented this DFS.
Okay. Okay.
So this
Yes. Yeah.
DFS was one of the tricky parts, and one of the, I would say, basic parts which I would have expected you to have done for something which you're not very familiar with.
Okay. Okay.
So whenever you're practicing DFS, you're not doing it on a file system,
Right. Right.
or you might not have done it on a file system. There are
Right.
questions in separate platforms which ask you to do it for a consider doing it for a file system, but they are not very famous. Now, why did
Okay.
I ask you this question, Sandeep? So the reason I asked you this question is because if you would have noticed, this question is very, 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 very abstract.
Right.
So from a person with your experience, and if you're going for SRE, that is the expectation you have.
Okay. Okay.
From companies like Google, Amazon, I'm assuming it, right? Because I have seen few questions to experienced people which are abstract,
Okay.
right? You might not have seen such abstract question on different platforms.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The reason is very simple, because such many experienced people, their basic target group is not uh, 12 or 14 years experience folks.
Right.
That's the
Right.
simple thing. That is why they do not have such question,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So from a person who is as experienced as you, the questions can be very abstract, right?
Okay.
This
Okay.
is the kind of question uh, which you can expect if it is a difficult interview,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
For your phone interviews, it could have been easier, but for such kind of interviews, for on-site interviews, you can expect such questions.
So on-site means this notepad interview or the phone interview and on-site, because right now they are not calling anyone on their center, right? So both would be
So
like on notepad, right?
yes, nothing changes. Both interviews are same,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just the names are different and the
Okay.
types of questions are different. So telephonic interview is preliminary round where they see if you can code.
Okay. Okay.
Right? The basic about it. If you can code, you can go move forward.
Okay.
Right? So if you can code means a bit different to Google, then it may mean to different other companies.
Right. Right.
So the standards are again a bit high.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that is what I wanted to check, that how do you handle an abstract question like this? You
Okay.
started really well. Again, I would say you started really well. You asked a lot of questions and very valid questions. However, when designing the solution, right,
Mm-hmm.
there was a bit you lagged there a bit.
Okay. Okay.
And that's pretty understandable, I would say. You can work on that.
Okay.
Just
Mm-hmm.
work on your data
Right.
structures and algorithms as you're doing.
Right.
Practice with different types of questions, right? Random questions, practice random questions from random sites, and as many cover the horizon. Try to cover the horizon. You
Right. Right.
cannot cover the entire horizon for DSA, but yeah. And
Right. Right.
think from
Definitely.
an oops perspective.
Mm-hmm. Right.
These are the two.
Definitely.
Although the chances of getting a
Right.
multi-threading or concurrent programming questions are less, I have had I have only heard it twice inside Google that they have been asked, but then I asked just one person. And
Okay.
inside Google, there are hundreds and thousands of interviews which happen every year. Maybe not hundreds
Mm-hmm.
of thousands, but at least tens of thousands interviews. So these questions may happen, but what I know of is just twice that such multi-threaded questions have been asked. And the reason, again, another reason I asked you this question is this kind of question, this kind of problem is what you would be implementing in a real world scenario,
Right. Right.
right? This is not very competitive programming kind of question,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? It is. this kind of question is something which you may face in a real world scenario as well,
Right, right, right. Absolutely right.
right? Because in real life scenario we use queues a lot.
Right, right, right.
Maybe not everyone, but mostly we have started using queues for asynchronous programming, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
these concepts are being used a lot. So I would have expected you to use that concept, throw in
Sure,
that concept
definitely,
here and use it some. So
definitely.
another thing which you must have noticed is rather than just pure coding interview, I was also checking your LLD skills,
Okay,
low level design. That how are you designing your entire solution.
okay.
So make sure that when such question is being asked, and I have seen similar questions, not with multi-threading, but similar OOPS questions being asked from people with 8 to 9 years of experience.
Okay, okay,
Right.
sure.
So you would certainly be asked such questions.
Yes, definitely.
Uh, so that was my feedback for you.
Oh, it's awesome, Kaustav. You given me a direction to study in a different level. I was like focusing only on data structure and lead code programming and just grabbing what I have missed in this all years. But I should have to focus on an actual things which I am doing throughout this service. I don't have to forget that. So you've given me a
Yes.
very great lesson. I actually, while writing this thing and while your question, I realized that how much I missed in the basic hoops in this course of all this preparation. I have to refresh thing. It's really not looks right for an experienced person. Even if I take an interview from someone equal to my experience, I should expect the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
and
really nice. You
as I said that I understand why you are doing it in this way, right? I totally
right,
understand, and I totally understand this that you must not have focused on DSA in your till now a lot,
right,
right?
right,
So you are practicing DSA, and it's correct to practice DSA, right? It's perfectly correct. You should do DSA, and you should do lead code as well. But
hmm,
one thing you should also focus on is OOPS because, uh, like I mentioned, you right, the target audience for these platforms is not uh, are not people who are experienced like yourself,
right,
right? So even if you notice YouTube videos
hmm,
or other things, they are mostly focused on college students. That is their
right,
target audience,
right, right,
right? That but the I would say the whip gear is not the rainbow of the entire tech industry is not just limited to the right. So
right, right.
for people like you, that I mean, even for uh, people like I mean, like I have 7.5 years of experience. I do not know what kind of questions would be asked in interviews, and I have seen very difficult questions being asked in Facebook, Google, and Amazon,
Okay,
right? And those questions were focusing on oops. They do not tell you that,
right,
right? But the expectation is there, right? So
right, right, right.
if you notice
Definitely.
their JD, they say that oops concepts are there,
Right,
right?
right,
It's there for people starting from college grads till any experience, right? But they do not expect oops concepts from college grads or with people with 1 or 2 or 3 years of experience.
right, right.
But they start to
Absolutely.
focus a lot on this when the experience is more. So even when you would go for other companies, right, like Zomato, Swiggy, Koyo, Carddeco, such companies,
Hmm.
I would say unicorns and good startups, big startups,
Right,
they would give you DSA. Some may just give you pure DSA,
right,
just solve it. But then there would be some companies, there would be some good interviews where you would have to focus on. Oops.
right, right, right. I'm totally glad that you have spent so much time with me. It's I feel bad that you're taking your family time, giving
No,
me
no problem. Actually,
and helping me.
I learn a lot from these interviews as well, to be honest. I am also working on my DSA, so taking interviews help. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's not
That's
just
awesome.
it is not just for helping others, but I'm helping myself as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's an approach we all have to follow. I'm really glad because of it's like an eye opener for me. I don't know. I have told you or not. 5 years before, also I went for a Google interview. I generally are in service base. I'm able to crack because their questions are different. I moved in all. I'm keep moving to break my comfort zone so that I can push myself for this limit. I
Okay.
always planning to prepare for a FANG kind of group of companies. But I always feel it's very tough for me. Somehow my preparation is not at that level. 5 years ago, when I was giving Google, I was very I was shaking in my interview. I was not able to. I was able to explain well because of my experience, but always it's again a problem. You have seen at least 10 line of codes in that interview. I was not able to write a single line correctly. uh, with
Okay.
every course I was trying to improve because when I started 5 there was no platform like lead code. The internet was very low. I was reading a lot of theory, but I was not from programming side, so it's like coming from an electronic and the surviving in the company by reading some java based book and just grab a job and go forward. That was the philosophy at that time. But soon after gaining an experience by seeing that how people are increasing their knowledge in this field, I also start moving with them for sometime for knowledge, sometime for better perspective. Now I have a good thing, like I have a good position and everything is good. My major objective now is it's a tremendous like to improve. Why, like I was always asking question that why I'm not able to do it. There is something which I have to improve in myself. So you open, you have given me that perspective what I need to improve. This is very tough. This like nobody will come to a 16-year say, hey, you have to improve this thing. It's getting tougher for me to get feedback actually. I'm nobody at my level can give that kind of an explain feedback like which you have given by spending so much time of that. It's really tough for get that feedback, and it's an eye opener for me, like what I am lacking and what I need to improve, on which area I need to focus. I'm really glad that I have taken that opportunity to talk with you.
I'm glad, Sunil, that I could have been of help. But yeah, uh, I don't know. So one thing I would uh, say is that yeah, it is a bit difficult to get feedbacks. So what you can also do is it is better to create a group if you can, right?
Right,
So
right.
create a group with your friends who are also aiming for such companies, or just motivate them to aim.
Problem, yeah, problem, Costa, is the people at my age are not aiming to this company. They are now settled in service base.
Yeah,
I don't have a single person having like having a desire to go for this interviews. They simply don't want to go. I feel that I'm the only person which are doing like a bachelor, just preparing for DS in a room,
that is
and forgetting.
actually good, Sandeep, because what I have seen is there is an inertia in service-based employees. I have seen people. I mean, it. I did not have a very good experience of people who have been there in service-based industries, because I mean, I'm not saying everyone is like that, but the majority of population which I see, like, I have been in TCS for like 3.5 years. Right.
Mhm.
I have had, I was working with folks in Wipro, CTS, and obviously there were people in TCS, right? So, uh, although I was working with folks in Wipro Digital, right,
Okay.
they were a bit better than people uh, with whom I have interacted in Wipro, the other Wipro, which is Wipro Infotech or something. Then,
Okay.
so. The thing which I've noticed is that most of the folks there are they have a lot of inertia, right? And yeah, it is, and they are good at what they are doing in that project for past 7 years, and they are
Right.
supposed to be good and they are happy with it. But there are few folks like you who are not happy with what they are doing or where they are. So, and it becomes difficult for you folks to find such companions to practice with or to
Right.
discuss problems. But then, you can always go to folks who are junior to you,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Definitely.
That is a barrier, that is a mental and emotional barrier which you may need to break.
Right. Right.
Because again, I understand in
I luckily I don't have that barrier. I'm okay with anyone.
okay, that's good then. Because in service-based industries, I have felt that people with a lot of experience do not give much,
Right. Right. So
do
what
not give
I'm
much.
doing for controlling, yeah, I'm doing a practice actually for controlling that thing. It's like a secret recipe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I never stay with company more than 1 or 2 years just to control this thing, because once you start getting comfortable in service based, a second thing is like your thought process getting start changing.
yes.
You're
I
getting
mean,
a sense of seniority and something.
yeah. To be honest with you, when I was in TCS, uh, I tried to approach a few seniors, and they were not very approachable,
Right.
right? And another thing is that you know what I did was when I was in Oracle, I had somewhere around 5 years of experience, 4.5, 5 years of experience in Oracle, and I had my juniors who had 1.5 years of experience, maybe 1 or 1. So, and I was starting with my DSS, so I went to them because they were from BITS, NIT, Warangal, and such colleges, and they had done a bit of competitive programming and DSA, everything. So
Right.
I used to approach them a lot, and they helped me. They helped me with various approaches, and they asked me for certain questions. They asked me, okay, check this guy's video, check that guy's video for this question. Okay, check this link. This is a very good approach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wasn't able to understand why binary search is log n, right? The mathematics behind it. And I asked that guy that, asked my junior how it's to come, and they helped me, right?
Right.
One of the reasons that I am able to understand DSA bit is because of them.
Mhm. Right.
So
Right.
it is important to interact with folks who can help you and whom you can help.
Right.
So yeah, I would say do that, and
Yes.
it's really good
Definitely.
that you are still learning and you are still willing to push yourself.
Yes, yes. Also, one important question. I will not take much of your time.
Yeah.
You might be have a family of your place. I just have 12 to 15 days now. I think I have a telephonic round, an HR discussion round on Wednesday, and
Okay.
after that, if things go well, my interview will start in a week time. What
Mhm.
do you think? Like you already provided your feedback, I have to focus more on OOPS and other stuff. But is there anything other than lead code? Any resource I have to focus for grabbing this knowledge in this period?
So I guess you might be having 2 weeks of time, right?
Right, right, mostly.
So what I would say is for the first week, do random lead code questions,
Okay.
right? If you think that you have already done a lot, you
Hmm.
know your algorithms and data structures, start doing random uh, questions on lead
Okay.
code, right? And then the next week, what you can do is you can go to GFG, and then you can
Geek for geek, right?
Geeks for Geeks, yes. You
Okay.
can go there and check out questions from Amazon, Google, and Facebook.
Okay.
Right, check these questions out. Or if you have do you have CTCI with you?
Yes, yes, I
Right.
have.
So you can read CTCI for 2 weeks.
Right,
Right, you
right,
can do
right,
there are these two options which you can do.
right.
I mean, maybe this is what I would have done, right? Or just read CTCI, just read it, and practice on GFG and
Right,
right.
right.
So do it. I mean, aggressively,
Sure,
right? If you know your data structures and algorithms, right?
sure, sure. Yeah,
For getting hands on. And I think
definitely.
you do not need to practice OOPS. I'm sure you know OOPS. Just that while solving your questions, make sure you know how to implement it with OOPS.
Definitely,
Right?
definitely, Gautam.
That's it. I would say you can.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, Costa.
Cool.
It's a great interaction. You have given a lot of time to me. I really appreciate. Thanks a lot. I hope I would be able to give you some good news soon.
Sure, sure, sure. I'm waiting for that. And do you have any feedback for me?
Uh, uh, Costa, actually, my perspective was I have not analyzed you on anything. It would not be right to give a feedback.
I mean,
Uh,
anything you think that I could have done better?
it's really tough.
If you
The
think if
complete duration of interview, I was just thinking about what you are telling and what I have to grab. So, in a single moment, I have not think that what you need to improve. Actually, my whole
Yeah, so
perspective was
if
to.
you think the question was too tough for a
No, the
person with your
question is.
experience, or the way I explained it to you or may could have been rude, something.
No, no, no. You not at all rude. So I have seen a lot of good qualities in you. Unfortunately, in my experience, I have to tell you some bad quality because that will give you a chance to improve further. But
Yes,
I have not analyzed for any bad quality. What I have seen all the good quality. You explain it well. You have given me a good time. Instead of that, it's all free. People are taking a lot of money for mock interview. You are giving me a free. You schedule your time. You apologize for what you have like what mistake have happened. Everything which you have is like a gentleman. It's nothing I want that you should change. Even if the style in which you have explained me the question, I'm really surprised at whether you are prepared with that question or you just make it in this interview. If you just make it in this interview, I might say that you are brilliant. I have not seen a person of your capability near about me on my regular basis. If you have prepared that is before that interview, I must say that I'm really glad that for me you prepared this question in all these things. So everything which happened in this interview is wonder for me. I'm surprised a lot of fact, and that wasn't my expectation. Also, I'm talking to a Google guy. I know that how much effort you have done while entering to in Google. That effort is seen in your explanation in everything. If I am dreaming about Google, I should have to be a par with your efforts also. That should be my first stage of covering. So it's all good, Costa. I have not seen any single negative point. Even if I analyze with a leadership perspective, you have a good sense of talking, and what you are talking, you have a good command over that. You have a structural talking. It's not like a random talking. You taken first point that explains second point or something. You have a structural talking. You're taken one by one. What I have done a mistake, and then you start explaining that. That's very rare. Even right now in this experience, I'm still lacking a structural talking. If I'm start explaining something to someone, I start from a random thing and then finish to a random stuff. I feel that you have started with the right thing and then you ended with related to that start. So it's awesome, Costa. Phil, I know that you might be a hunger of you must be having an hunger of an improvement. You must understand some bad point in you. Give me some time to think about the bad point. I definitely will think so that I can help you in an improvement. I should have to help you with my experience. Give me some time. I have to absorb the discussion of 1.5 hour. It's definitely will take another 3 to 4 hours to absorb this. Then might be I would be able to present you something which help you to if that's an improvement that will help you in future.
cool, cool. Thank you. Thanks. I'm flattered, Sandeep. Thank you.
Uh,
Uh,
thanks a lot, Costa. I will definitely will keep you updating. Please, there is no need to reply to my message. It's like you are the first person who had taken my mock. I will feel glad if I would be able to update you my progress. Even if you don't reply, I will not mind. So please don't reply if you don't want to spend time.
I
It's totally
usually
all right for me.
I usually respond to all my LinkedIn messages. Mostly,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I usually respond, but yeah, I do not respond to hi's, how are you,
Yes,
or
yes, definitely,
or
definitely.
the
I
questions
will
which are
try.
not closed, right? So if
Yeah,
usually if
yeah,
you do just a hi, I might not. So point is, I might not remember that I took your interview, so I might not respond to you. So maybe if you
definitely.
ask a question or you update me with something, a closed conversation would be very good.
Right, right. Definitely. I will try to do that. I will feel glad to update you with my progress in
I
this
would
journey with
also,
Google.
I would also be eager to know about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Gosa.
Thank you, Sandeep. It
Yeah,
was
thanks.
amazing talking to you.
Same here, Gosa. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening ahead.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Costa. Take care. Bye.